9,
Well,
8,
we're 10 from the top. Sorry.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, everybody. Around 7:15 this morning, we had an undercover officer who works for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in the capacity of a narcotics detective. He was on Collins Road. He actually had his teenage son in the car, taking him to school, as a matter of fact. When at some point in time on Collins Road, near the railroad tracks, which is closer here to Roosevelt Boulevard on Jacksonville's west side, something occurred which caused the undercover officer to initiate a traffic stop. Fortunately, because of his condition, we're not really able to fill in some of these blanks quite yet, but this traffic stop occurred, and it occurred really right at the railroad tracks. The son gives us an account that not a whole lot occurred before that, but he initiated this traffic stop on a vehicle. As he stops the car, we've learned now from some of the neighbors and the witnesses who are at nearby businesses that immediately upon stopping this white Cadillac vehicle, the driver of this vehicle, who was in the vehicle alone, exited the car and began shooting at the undercover detective immediately. The undercover detective's car, although it is unmarked, it does have blue lights in it, so he initiated those. And at the time of the shooting, he was wearing a ballistic vest, body armor type vest that's clearly marked police. So this occurs, the shooting occurs. Our officer is struck at least 3 times, 1 time in the hand, 1 time in the head, and 1 time in the upper body. During that, the officer is able to make his way to the back of his car, and sometime in that encounter, in that course of events, the suspect flees from there and runs on foot to another nearby business where he steals a large flatbed Ford F-350 pickup truck, begins to leave on Collins Road going towards Blanding the other way. At about that same time, several of the responding officers who heard this undercover detective get on the radio and put out the frightening sounds of "I've been shot," are responding to the scene. They're flagged down by the same people who had their truck stolen, and he gives the description of the truck to these 2 officers. Encountered as it would be, the officers see that truck on Collins Road and begin to follow it. Obviously, that's a clue when you see the truck in that nearby vicinity. Begin a traffic stop on that, and that truck immediately begins to flee. And it goes into the Whispering Pines subdivision, which is here off of Collins Road. So everything is really between Blanding Boulevard and Roosevelt Boulevard on Collins Road here. That truck goes into the neighborhood, begins to flee, turns down into a street, which is a dead-end street. It runs into a house. The occupant either exits the car or intentionally rams the car into this house, strikes the house. The officers exit their car and do a tactical approach. They hit the side of one of the houses, going around to the back, where they encounter the suspect on the back porch of a house. He is armed with a gun. According to several of the witnesses in the area, the officers giving loud commands for him to drop the gun. The suspect picks up the gun or lifts up the gun and aims it at the 2 officers. Both of the officers fire their issued handgun several times at the suspect. He is hit at least 4 times. He is transported from there to a local hospital where he has been treated and is going to be released here in the next few minutes as we're learning. Learning more about this, it seems that this morning, immediately before this traffic stop, this suspect and his live-in girlfriend got involved in some kind of domestic argument, and he made threats to harm himself this morning, to harm her. He was armed with a gun at that point in time this morning, potentially fired shots inside the house. We're still not inside the house where all this occurred to know exactly what happened in there, but some of the information that we got was that he had fired a couple shots either at himself or at this live-in girlfriend this morning. So as luck would have it, or bad luck, the undercover officer encounters him obviously immediately right thereafter this occurs. It really highlights just the unknown nature of police work. You know, you hear about a routine traffic stop. There is no such thing as a routine traffic stop. You don't know what the person that you're stopping is on the way from or on the way to. And in this case, you have somebody who had some suicidal thoughts and put them into play today and decided that he was going to do what he did. Luckily, the detective in this case has just been released from surgery. His family and he need the prayers. He is still alive. He is in critical but more of a stable condition at this point in time. Again, I outlined kind of where he was at least hit 3 times. If you're one who prays, do so for him. I know I have been this morning as we worked through all this information, trying to put this together. It is a bit confusing with the way that these things occurred in these proximities, but thankfully the suspect is in custody and is not out there to do harm to anyone else. We don't believe there's anybody else involved that we don't have in custody. And this afternoon, I will have more information at a 4:30 news conference that we'll hold at the Police Memorial Building, and I can have some more information. We're trying to identify who he is now, get a little bit of a criminal history on him, and answer some more questions that I know you have. I can answer some now, though.
Chief, what about the 14-year-old? I mean, I know anybody that has a family member in law enforcement knows what the dangers, but to witness it, especially as a teenager when it's your dad, how's he doing?
He's very shaken up. I mean, we all, those of us who have kids and driving in these cars off duties, you know the risk. We know the risk as a law enforcement officer the day we sign up. Here just this month, we had this country lost an officer who had started just the day before. We all know that, but when it happens, and when it happens to one of your own family, and you see that, like this young man who saw his father get shot, I just can't imagine that. It's frightening.
Chief, I want to reiterate, the suspect is not deceased. Some of the media has reported that the suspect had died, and I want to make sure that information is
No,
correct.
the suspect has not deceased. He was hit multiple times. However, each one of these wounds for him seemed superficial, and he has been treated and is being released now. The charges that he will be facing are at least for the attempted murder of the police officer and the 2 aggravated assaults against the 2 officers at the place where he was captured, but more charges will probably be coming forward, and we'll know a little bit more this afternoon.
So when you say released, he's going straight to jail?
Well, he will be interviewed by detectives and then taken to jail.
Are you going to be releasing the officer's name or the suspect's name anytime soon?
Verifying the suspect's identity now, I think we have a pretty good idea of that. I don't like to put information out that I haven't really truly verified. I hate to do that. Because of the officer's status and his fact that he works as an undercover narcotics detective, I probably will not be releasing his name, certainly to protect his identity and to protect his family as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about the officer in terms of number of years on the force? Is this Jacksonville native?
Yeah, he's worked for the sheriff's office since 2008 in the capacity of a police officer. His current assignment in narcotics, he's worked there for a couple years in the narcotics division.
Is it unusual to see a detective make a stop while off duty and with family in the car?
It's hard to say. It depends on what occurred, and again, like I just said a minute ago, I'm not sure exactly what occurred that he may have seen. You do put that into your head when you make these traffic stops off duty in an unmarked car, and especially with family members in there. But I'm not going to try to suppose what he did or didn't see, but it was enough that he wanted to initiate that traffic stop.
Correct. He was wearing a ballistic vest. So was he on his way to work? After he dropped off his son, was he about to start his tour of duty?
It was within the next couple hours, Gil, that he would have gone. He wasn't immediately going to work, but the work that these narcotics detectives do, they never know when they're going to start their work, and to have that ballistic vest inside of his car wouldn't be something unusual, because they'll start when they get a call, unfortunately.
Was he aware of the domestic dispute between the suspect and his girlfriend?
I don't really know the answer to that question, and unfortunately he's not able to talk to us and give us that information. We'll piece some of that together this afternoon and may or may not have an answer.
You said his son called for backup. Has he ever been involved in a shooting before either?
No, this was the detective's first officer-involved shooting, and it doesn't appear that that his son called for any kind of backup. Where this occurred, I told you that it occurred actually on the railroad tracks and nearby businesses. We asked citizens to get involved, and these folks got themselves a little bit in harm's way, and I'm really thankful that they did. They were able to move the detective and his car from on top of the railroad tracks as there's a train coming. So, it's just another unknown thing, but they stepped in harm's way, got involved, pulled him off the railroad tracks, got his car moved. It's just, I'm thankful and happy that he's still with us, but he still needs some prayers and still's got a lot of recovery to do.
I know you said you haven't been able.
Officers who shot that suspect, or what about them? Are they on leave at this point?
Yes, the 2 officers that have been involved in the suspect shooting have been placed on administrative leave, standard per our policy. I'll be able to provide information on them later this afternoon as well, and some additional information.
I know you haven't been able to get into the suspect's home at this point, but was that one of the shooting scenes that we got in ears on earlier, or I guess what part of town is that in?
No, that's right here in that same neighborhood.
In the same neighborhood.
So the neighborhood he was fleeing into is where he lived and where he had the domestic disturbance this morning. So this is all, like I said, it's been contained between Blanding and Roosevelt on Wilson, or I'm sorry, on Collins here, that are all right in this neighborhood.
Have you had a chance to talk to is it girlfriend or wife of the suspect?
Yes, we have. And again, I'll know a little bit more about that later this afternoon. Can provide information about that location where they lived, some of her information, and certainly some of the suspect's information.
Hey, Chief, we've heard before from officers saying that oftentimes domestic situations can be the most dangerous for officers. Would you say what happened today kind of plays into that?
Yeah, I mean, here's, and like I said, you have this detective who has no idea, and again, maybe why this guy is driving erratic or whatever caused that traffic stop. Well, he doesn't know that he just potentially left this house shooting at himself or shooting at his girlfriend, and who knows that so he carried that domestic disturbance out here in the road with him and had our undercover detective basically step right into the middle of it unaware. It leads back to the unknown nature of what we do. You just never know what you're getting into. Never know who you're stopping. Never know where you're going to go, and don't know the fact that you're going to go home that day.
Any indication yet where the suspect was heading to when he was stopped?
It seems like he was leaving the house this morning potentially to go to work, but again, to verify that, we've got a little bit of work to do.
And Chief, we know that his son was in the car, as you were mentioning. How was he able to stay safe while this was going on? Did he do anything in particular?
I don't know, to be honest. Whether he ducked or what he did. The shots actually made it into the interior of the car, so it's by God's grace that he's not hit as well. So, but again, still piecing a lot of this together. Unfortunately, without the detective to talk to fill in some of these blanks, we're going to have to do the investigation to try to do it ourselves. So, thank you all for covering this. I'll have more information this afternoon, and thank you very much.
All right, as you were here